Emerging human capital professionals have long been influenced by self-concept theory. Carl Rogers was the most important and articulate proponent of self-concept theory. He has created a whole framework for encouraging people to value their own worth. To Rogers, experiential learning is synonymous with personal development and transformation. Rogers believes that all human beings are born with an inherent desire to learn, and that the duty of the trainer is to support this natural desire. This comprises the following activities: creating a good learning environment, explaining the learner's objectives, assessing the learner's progress, balancing the intellectual as well as emotional components of learning, expressing emotions and views with learners without dominating the conversation. Several factors, according to Rogers, contribute to the facilitation of learning. These factors include the learner's complete participation in the learning process, including control over its nature and direction. The learning process is primarily based on direct confrontation with practical, social, personal, or research problems, and self-evaluation is a primary method of assessing progress or success. Rogers also highlights the significance of understanding how to learn as well as being open to new experiences. For Rogers' theory, one's self is the most important factor in one's personality and adaptability. When Carl Rogers started his work in psychotherapy, he subsequently applied it to education. He transferred his client-centered treatment technique to train the trainer-learner interactions, resulting in a learner-centered education. The self, according to Rogers, is a social product that grows out of connections and strives for stability. Positive esteem, he said, is a fundamental human need that must come from others and from inside oneself. Also, he thought that every individual has a natural desire to grow and develop if they are given the opportunity to do so. It's a person's existing collection of attitudes, knowledge, and expertise that constitutes their true self. The trainer's goal is to help the learner become the best versions of themselves. The definition of one's self may be unclear or contradictory. The trainer's job is to help learners recognize their true selves. The fundamental idea is that a person's self-perceptions is what constitutes their sense of self. Self-concept is made up of two parts. First, the ideal self is the person you want to be or think you should be. One's true identity is known as one's real self, the existing attitude, skills, and knowledge. The other term is achieving congruence. The degree to which one's actual self and one's ideal self are in sync is known as congruence. When both self-image and ideal self are closer to each other, the more consistent or congruent we are, and the higher our sense of self-worth. Developing a sense of congruence is dependent on receiving unconditional positive regard. To reach self-actualization, Rogers felt that a person must be in a condition of congruence with their own values and beliefs. The next term, unconditional positive regard. It is where a supervisor's tendency to have stereotypical view of his or her subordinates or superiors may lead to inconsistency, which can have an impact on learning and transfer of skills. Humanistic psychologist Carl Rogers is credited with coining the phrase unconditional positive regard, which is utilized in trainer-learner relationships. Accepting and respecting people without judgment and assessment is what it means to demonstrate unconditional positive regard. In contrast to unconditional love, unconditional positive regard doesn't need love or affection. but rather acceptance of people regardless of how you feel about them. However, unconditional positive regard is not an action towards others. Rather, it's a state of mind that might be misconstrued. It's more of an attitude or state of mind. When we are treated with unconditional positive regard, we are more likely to be open and honest about our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors with others around us. A trainer who uses unconditional positive regard may react to learners' undesirable behavior by concentrating on the emotions connected with the action rather than the actions itself. This allows learners to take risks and make errors, since they know they will be welcomed no matter how they do. When youngsters aren't afraid of being judged by their parents for their behavior, for instance, they are more likely and willing to explore the world around them and learn new things. This is the same for adult learners as well. The term empathetic understanding, the capacity to empathize with the learner's feelings, is known as empathetic understanding. This refers to the trainer's capacity to interpret the learner's experience and sentiments in the here and now, sensitively and correctly, but doesn't mean it has to be compassionately. Trainers must be able to follow exactly what the learner is experiencing and convey to them that the trainer knows what they are feeling, which is a vital element of their job as a trainer.